Right. Hello, everyone. So today is going to be a really short video lecture. We're just covering the end of the 1-3 notes, the three integrative themes that we talked about in class. So we're doing the risks of losing biodiversity here. All right. So remember, biodiversity, right, refers to bio. The bio part refers to life. Um, Diversity, uh, trying to think of how to say this in other words, like variety. Okay, so biodiversity is referring to the variety of life, the different living organisms, how many different living organisms there are, uh, their population, like how much their populations, all that kind of stuff. So um, when we talk about, like we have the endangered species stuff, and then sometimes you see like commercials and um, people are like, "Oh, why should I care if some weird little frog in the Amazon rainforest goes extinct? Like, that's not going to have any effect on me. Like, why does it really matter?" And the realistic answer is sort of a little of both. In some ways, you're right. One single species in an area not around you generically probably won't have an effect on your life, but um, depending on what the species is and stuff, and or depending on what the species is, where it is, the value of it, it actually could have a direct impact on your life. Or the second part of this is it's not necessarily in and of itself just the one single species, although that can have an impact. The idea is this increasing extinction of multiple species, of overall the number of species going extinct every year, every 5 years, every decade, whatever, however you want to look at it. But the overall number is also is pretty alarming. Okay, and that definitely has a big impact. So, what are some of the risks of losing biodiversity of species? So, biodiversity is critical to the health of ecosystems. The more biodiversity present, the healthier and hardier an ecosystem is. So, think about like um, if you have a bunch of different organisms, if one organism goes extinct, or say one organism population drops, there are other organisms that can come in and sort of fill that void. So, for example, say hawks, uh, like a species of hawk preys on field mice. Well, say the field mice go extinct. If that's the only thing that hawk can eat, the hawk is likely to go extinct as well. Okay, but if there's higher biodiversity, other life forms, like if there's voles and maybe snakes or groundhogs or other chipmunks, if there's a bunch of different things, then the loss of one thing, the impact of the loss of one species would be much reduced. Okay, so it's much healthier. Also, more organisms. A lot of times, when you've got a larger biodiversity of organisms in an ecosystem, they do different jobs. So, some of them help things decompose. Some of them uh, keep certain they prey on other populations to keep them in check, get this balance and stuff, and that's really important. So the more biodiverse an ecosystem is, the healthier it is. All right, second reason. Biodiversity gives humans more resources to use for living. Some examples of this: medicines developed from plants and animals. Okay, all of our medicines at some point are derived from natural sources. Some of them are directly derived from it. Other ones, um, we might take a property or like part of a certain thing and mix it with others to get us a certain effect. Okay. Um, so like a good example of that is, and I should have looked this up beforehand, but um, you know what, this is gonna be a short video, so I'm gonna look it up right now, is aspirin. Aspirin actually, the original aspirin came from the bark of a tree, and I can't remember. Um, Weeping willow. Okay, a weeping willow tree, the willow bark, has the salicylic acid in it, which was a a painkiller. So um, so that's just one example of something that was derived from a medicine that was derived from a plant or an animal. So the more biodiversity, sorry, that we have, the um, more likely we are to have different be able to develop different medicines and find different compounds and things for cures, like just because there's a wider variety of things to potentially use and discover, right? Using animals and plants for food. The more there are, the more varied our diet can be, which is typically healthier for us. We need a bunch of different minerals and vitamins and protein and all this kind of things. And having a diet that only focuses on, that would be very limited and only focus on a few things, you're going to be missing other necessary parts. So the more varied our diet is, which comes from having a wider variety of available, other, fruits and vegetables and animals and, things like that. So, so the use we get from it, we actually do get a very valuable stuff from having increased biodiversity, right? And the last one is aesthetic or moral value. So, um, aesthetic is sort of um, like how something looks, or um, how we view something. So, something having aesthetic or moral value is the value we gain from the existence of a large variety of animals and plants. Just from we gain, there is value in just having a larger variety existing. One good example of this is zoos. Zoos exist because of a wide diversity of animals. Right? Nobody's going to want to walk into a zoo and, you see maybe like, oh, over here is a deer and here's a coyote, and then oh, over here we've got cats and a dog. Like, hey, that's a great zoo, yay! Like, no, nobody wants to see that. Like, that's boring. It's the same thing, Like, we go to a zoo because we can see like a bunch of animals and really cool animals that we don't normally see, and it's just the wide diversity of them, right? So, things like that, there's tourism to different countries that are all based around having a wide diversity of not only animals, like you can go on safaris and stuff, but also plant life. Like, think about going to like Costa Rican jungles and stuff. Like, there's just a wide variety. Another one that kind of like links between both. Think about people buying flowers for people and stuff. Flower arrangements and stuff. There's a whole industry based off of a wide diversity of plant of flower life. So there's value in that as well. Okay, so those are all sort of risks or consequences of losing biodiversity. These things that we either get reduced or we lose the value of, the more species go extinct and the more biodiversity that we lose. All right. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we are good.